Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so today's reading will be from the Bhikkhunisamyutta, verse 5.6, 5.7, and 5.8. Cala, Upacala, and Sisupacala. So these are verses uttered by the younger sisters of Venerable Sariputta. So I thought, it'd be interesting. So it's kind of following from previously some of the verses we had read before. So we skipped a few in between and came to Chala's verse. So let's read. So I'm reading from the Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, page 226. So we're going to read verse 5.6, Chala. At Savatthi, so this happened at Savatthi. Okay. Then in the morning, the Bhikkhuni Cala, dressed and taking bowl and robe, entered Savatthi for alms. When she had walked for alms in Savatthi and had returned from her alms round, she sat down at the foot of a tree for the day's abiding. So you see here that those of you who have the text where it's ... it's actually pretty much similar to the verses before. So it's always starting with at Savatthi in the morning. The particular bhikkhuni that we're reading, dressed, taking bowl and robe, entered Savatthi for alms. And then when they had walked in Savatthi and they returned from their alms round, they sat down at the foot of a tree for the day's abiding. Okay, so they all have a similar structure there. Then Mara, the evil one, approached the Bhikkhuni Cala and said to her, "What don't you approve of, Bhikkhuni?" So this is quite an interesting, a different way of questioning, whereas before when we read the earlier verses in this chapter was kind of Mara kind of testing them, but here he's kind of asking, what don't you approve of, Bhikkhuni? And then Chala answered, I don't approve of birth, friend. So she's, okay, so it's very direct the way she answered, I don't approve of birth. And then Mara asked, why don't you approve of birth? Once born, one enjoys sensual pleasures. Who now has persuaded you of this? Who now has persuaded you of this? Bhikkhuni, don't approve of birth. So Mara is saying, who kind of influenced you to think that way? So then Chala replied, for one who is born, there is death. Once born, one encounters sufferings, bondage, murder, affliction. Hence, one shouldn't approve of birth. So the here, it's in reference to three poisons, so to speak: greed, hatred, delusion, or ignorance. So once we are born, we will encounter all these things. So the Buddha has taught the Dhamma, the transcendence of birth, for the abandoning of all suffering. He has settled me in the truth. And to those beings who fare amidst form And those who abide in the formless, not having understood cessation, they come again to renewed existence. So what she's trying to say here is, if one is subject to birth, then one is subject to all kinds of suffering. There's no escape from that. But then she says that what the Buddha taught in terms of the Dhamma transcends birth, abandons suffering. And then what she says further is that those who fare amidst form, beings who fare amidst form, so like beings in the human realm, in the animal realm, in the some of the Deva realms, so there's still some kind of form. So we are existing in the form realm, and then there are those who in the higher realms are in the formless realms. All still are subject to the cycle of birth and death, renewed existence. So still subject to the cycle of birth and death because of not having understood cessation. Then Mara, the evil one, realizing the Bhikkhuni Cala knows me, sad and disappointed, disappeared right there. So here again, the ending of each of these verse, how Mara disappears, is pretty much similar. Okay, so that was a verse uttered by Cala. Okay, so let's then read 5.7, which is Upacala. So another sister. At Savatthi. Then in the morning, the Bhikkhuni Upacala, dressed and taking bowl and robe, entered Savatthi for alms. When she had walked for alms in Savatthi and returned from her alms round, she sat down at the foot of a tree for the day's abiding. Then Mara, the evil one, approached the Bhikkhuni Upacala and said to her, "Where do you wish to be reborn, Bhikkhuni?" So here again, a very similar question to in Chala's case, where he asked, "What don't you approve of?" Here, similar kind of question, but from a different perspective. Where do you wish to be reborn? And her answer is, "I don't wish to be reborn anywhere, friend. I do not wish to be reborn anywhere, friend." So in similar case to how her sister Chala had replied, "I don't approve of birth." Okay. There are Tavatimsa and Yama Devas and Devatas of the Tusita realm. Devas who take delight in creating and Devas who exercise control. Direct your mind there to those realms and you'll experience delight. So what Mara is trying to influence Upachala by saying these things is to kind of, in a way encourage and say, well, there are all these different pleasurable Deva realms. Why not? All you have to do is just focus your mind in that attention, and then you will be able to experience delight. Or in a sense, what Mara is trying to say is that have your mindset wish to be reborn in those realms. Okay. Then the Bhikkhuni Upachala replied, "There are Tavatimsa and Yama Devas." So she did not claim that there are no such realms. So she agrees that there are such realms. There are Tavatimsa and Yama Devas and Devatas of the Tusita realm, Devas who take delight in creating and Devas who exercise control. But they are still bound by sensual bondage. they come again under Mara's control. So what she's saying is that even though all these realms are pleasurable realms, but they are still, the beings there are still subject, are still bonded to experiencing sensual delight. And so having such tendencies, they will still be under, well, here it's saying under Mara's control, but basically what it means is they are still drawn to existence, to birth and death, and that cycle of renewed existence again and again, because of the tendencies in these realms as well. Then she continues, all the world is on fire, all the world is burning, all the world is ablaze, all the world is quaking. So what she's saying is she's referring to the fire of sensual delight, just having that, if you like, craving, so to speak. Yeah. So in this world, everyone is chasing after something to fulfill that, or to want to so basically chasing after something in order to fulfill that sense of how should I say, craving after sensual pleasures, something to make them feel that's what I like, and it's coming down to the I like it, I don't like it, mine. Yeah. And this is the whole purpose of in the teaching of the Buddha, which is what we're trying to train ourselves here, is when the I like it, I don't like it, mine comes into play because of the feeling that we encounter through the six sense bases. So what we're trying to do is, whether it's the I like it or I don't like it mind here that comes up, when we notice a craving arises due to that, usually it manifests as tension and tightness in the mind and the body. So when that happens, we quickly 6R, recognize that tension and tightness has a reason, recognize and then release that tension and tightness, relax, and then return to our, we have to re-smile first, and then return to our object of meditation. So recognize that the tension and tightness has a reason, release that tension and tightness first, relax, then re-smile. If in case we are not already smiling, if we are already smiling, then that's just naturally happening as part of the process. And then return to our object of meditation. And we keep doing that like thousands and thousands and thousands of times every day. And the more we do that, we create that new habit in us, so that we can overcome, we can change the way we perceive things that go on around us just through this practice of 6R. Okay, so the next verse you say, that which does not quake or blaze, that to which worldlings do not resort, where there is no place for Mara, that is where my mind delights. So what she's saying is, her mind finds joy in not having all these sensual pleasures, sensual delights that other worldlings chasing after day after day after day. Okay, so then Mara, the evil one, realizing the Bhikkhuni Upacala knows me, sad and disappointed, disappeared right there. So the same way of ending. Okay, then we go to 5.8, Sisupacala. At Savatthi, then in the morning, the Bhikkhuni Sisupacala dressed and taking bowl and robe entered Savatthi for alms. When she had walked for alms in Savatthi and had returned from her alms round, she sat down at the foot of a tree for the day's abiding. Similar setting. Then Mara, the evil one, approached the Bhikkhuni Sisupacala and said to her, "What creed do you approve of, Bhikkhuni?" "I don't approve of anyone's creed." She says, she doesn't belong to any of these things. Okay. So under whom have you shaved your head? So Mara is kind of like confused, right? If you say you don't approve of anyone's creed, then surely you must belong to some kind of group or clan or something. Under whom have you shaved your head? You do appear to be an ascetic, yet you don't approve of any creed. So why wonder as if bewildered? So Mara is trying to ask, wait a minute, you look like you have gone forth. You look like you're an ascetic, but then here now you're saying you don't approve of any creed. Then why bother? Why bother to be an ascetic then? Then the Bhikkhuni Sisupacala replies, outside here, the followers of creeds place their confidence in views. I don't approve of their teachings. They are not skilled in the Dhamma. So those days, even during the time of the Buddha, there were many different teachers and different sects. And it was very common, we read some of the suttas, the different sects, they kind of sometimes visit each other and then they have debates to discuss. Sometimes it's philosophical and other times, yeah. And a lot of times the Buddha would be visited by some of these sects, and they would ask him questions, sometimes in a way to kind of test him out in a sense. Other times just having the genuine curiosity and wanting to learn after hearing that, the Buddha was very renowned for his wisdom and compassion and things like that. So various people came to sort him out. So what Bhikkhuni Sisupacala is saying is that a lot of these creeds, they all had confidence in views. So they had some form of, a view, a belief in something, how this works, how that works. And she says that she doesn't approve of that because that's not skillful in the Dhamma. So then she said, but there is one born in the Sakyan clan, the enlightened one, without an equal, conqueror of all, Mara's subduer, who everywhere is undefeated, everywhere freed and unattached, the one with vision who sees all. Attain to the end of all karma, liberated in the extinction of acquisitions. That blessed one is my teacher. His is the teaching I approve. So what she's saying is basically that she takes refuge only in the Buddha Dhamma, not in any of these other creeds or sects or whatever other teachings are out there. And then, of course, the verse ends in the usual manner. Then Mara, the evil one, realizing the Bhikkhuni Sisupacala knows me, sad and disappointed, disappeared right there. So interesting to see how the three younger sisters of Venerable Sariputta were also, they attained to very high levels in their practice, very strong in their wisdom as well, and how they uttered these verses. Any thoughts or any questions so far around these three verses uttered here in this chapter? Yeah, thanks for that, Pi. Yeah, it's very basic. There's nothing how should I say? These verses are really yeah, to give her an answer. Yeah, true. We don't, I think we can think of these sisters as they had a certain level of wisdom. But it's sometimes good to, for me at least personally, to read these verses in a way as a form of encouragement. And also sometimes, if I can find the stories behind some of these elders during their time, we read sometimes that they initially, before they became, let's say, arhats or very highly their wisdoms are at a very high level, let's say. Before that, they all, were really fairly ordinary, But then I have a proposal after this, I'll go into that. But, for example, last Sunday, so Brother Sachin Ji read through the Angulimala Sutta and also read through a little bit of a background, who he was and where he came from. So he actually was a very good student to his teacher, very loyal, very how should I say, let's say when his teacher teaches something, he can pick it up very fast. So he was actually a very good student, very clever, in a sense, also very pure. So he had no qualms about what his teacher taught or things like that. But probably he lacked a little bit of wisdom to be able to discern what was right and what was wrong. He was innocent in that sense, like a pure innocent child, so to speak, And so what happened, because he was a very good student, the other students in that particular sect got jealous of him, got jealous of Angulimala. So they created stories to his teacher. And that was how, his teacher got a little bit sidetracked, believed those stories, and then kind of gave him that impossible task, to show his loyalty, so to speak. So in a sense, Angulimala was going around killing people, not with the intention really out of hatred or anger. It was purely like innocent, child or innocent student who just wanted to prove his loyalty to his teacher, which was a little bit an odd way, true, to display that. And it was only when he collected, I think it was like 999 fingers or something like that, and the last finger, in order to fulfill his teacher's wish, he saw his own mother. And so the Buddha, during his in the morning when he is in meditation, he usually scans and see, okay, who is ready for the Dhamma. And so then the Buddha saw, oh, Angulimala is about to murder his own mother to fulfill 1,000 fingers on the garland. So the Buddha stopped him just before he committed that act. So that was kind of how the story goes. Okay, so actually, today's readings is fairly short, but I wanted to ask for subsequent readings. So last week, Brother Sachinji shared with us the great disciples of the Buddha. And I thought that, so I'll just very quickly show here. Okay, so I hope you can see, let me find, where is everyone? Oops. Oh, I lost. Oops. Wait, I'm trying to get the window. Anyway, you can still hear me, right? Can you still hear me? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so what I thought in mind was that it would be nice to get to know Venerable Sariputta, not today, but in another talk. So whenever there is a TWIM guide available on Sundays, then they will come. But whenever, because not everyone can come on Sundays, so I thought whenever none of the TWIM guides are available on a Sunday, that we could do in a couple of sessions. We can split it up. We definitely cannot read all about Sariputta in one go. But so the section on Sariputta, there is a prologue which we can skip, you can read on your own. But we can go through, from the original aspiration. So before his birth as Sariputta, and this was mentioned in the Jatakas. So those of you who are not familiar, the Jatakas are stories of the past lives of the Buddha, and sometimes some of either his famous disciples or some of the other more, how should I say, important characters during the time of the Buddha. And the Jatakas are very commonly used as teaching syllabus in Sunday schools still till today. Most of the time it is with reference to one of the previous lives of the Buddha. So sometime when he was reborn as, let's say, a monkey, he would be reborn as a king of a group of monkeys, or he would be maybe reborn as a something else, or maybe he was reborn as a Brahmin, or maybe he was reborn as a merchant, many different. So it's always very interesting to read. And here I think it's nice of Venerable Nyanaponikatera to include that part. And so I thought, and I wanted to ask those of you here who dial in often on Sundays, what you think in terms of this idea, that in the coming sessions, whenever we don't have a TWIM guide on Sunday, that we can go through sections by section. So we can start with here. So we can skip the prologue, you can read. It's just, prologue is just kind of like a preface. We can skip that. Sorry, where we go, where is that again? Oops. Sorry. Yep, so we can skip about this prologue. It's just giving a little bit of a background. And we can start here with the story. Begins at two Brahmanical villages and stuff like that. So that initial part talks a little bit about a little bit of a background. So in one session we can cover let's say up till if I go back to the chapters, oops. Yeah, so we can cover, like, for example, if it's not too long, the quest for Dharma chapter, which covers the original aspiration and a bit of Jatakas. And yeah, if it is too long, then we can cover, like, say, 2, and then 2 the following session and things like that. So then we can read through who Venerable Sariputta was, and the wisdom that he had, and then some of the suttas in reference to him as well. What do people think of this idea? Anyone has any comments or suggestions, perhaps? What do you think? Stop sharing because I lost the, yeah, there we go. Okay. What do people think? Do people have any preferences in terms of the readings that we can cover on Sundays when we don't have a TWIM guide available? Okay, so Pi is okay with this suggestion. Jay, do you have any thoughts? Jay is okay. That's great. Nanda, what do you think? Is it a good idea for you? Paul is okay. Or Gopinath? Yeah, I find the story about these great disciples very interesting. I was trying to find more about Upalavana. She has one verse, one sutta in the Bhikkhunisamyutta, but I was trying to find some story behind her background. Not a lot, actually. We read about Kema. So in terms of the time of the Buddha had two two senior male disciples. So even in the book, let me just quickly. So does everyone have a copy of the book? Let me pop it in the chat again. So it was shared by it was shared last week. So give me one sec. I'll just pop it in the chat again in case you didn't have it. Ben. Okay, so it's coming through in a bit. It's a fairly big PDF. So then the idea is that, when we cover the chapters on Venerable Sariputta, then hopefully when you are reading or when you are listening to the suttas that are uttered by or have some form of reference to Venerable Sariputta, and there are a few. So for example, Majjhima Nikaya 111, Anupada Sutta, that is in relation to Venerable Sariputta, how he went through the different jhanas. So maybe that hopefully can help you give a bit of a perspective as a person, as a teacher, as a practitioner, what his attitude was, which led to that. so that hopefully that gives you a little bit of inspiration in your own practice as well. Is what I'm trying to get to. Okay. Sorry, I went big round the bush. That was really what I was trying to get to. Hopefully, this exercise can inspire you in your own practice. That was what I was trying to get to. All right, so if that's okay with everyone, yeah, today's session is really a short one. I don't wish to drag it long, so that the next session, we'll see. I'm not sure yet whether it's the coming Sunday or the Sunday after that. Then we can start reading about Venerable Sariputta. Okay? All good? Everyone happy? I hope. Okay. So let's then end by reciting, by sharing of merits. So let me find the sharing of merit. Share. Sharing of merit, share. We put here. Can people see the sharing of merits? I hope so. Okay. Let's share the merit together. May suffering ones be suffering free and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. So thank you. Thank you everyone for dialing in. I wish you all a good week. And happy, continue to practice, keep smiling. All right, have a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.